I'm a local lad, born and bred in Mansfield. I'm 61 years of age. I live not a stone's throw away from this snooker table. I've always been around here and always either at this club or I've been a member at this club for 25 years. I've always enjoyed this game of snooker. So as well as being an avid snooker fan, I enjoy playing the game of snooker. I have done for pretty much most of my adult life. I happen to be the project lead for the We Are Undefeatable campaign here in Mansfield, and as well as other numerous projects that I've worked with the team at the Mansfield CVS to actually complete and achieve. This was also, it became very apparent because of the age group of the vast majority of the members. They'd been asked by the government obviously to isolate in the very difficult times of COVID, and like many others, those gentlemen then became very fearful about actually returning back into some sort of normality.
I started junior school 3 weeks before the start of the Second World War, so that gives you an idea of my age. Before COVID, I used to come down every weeknight and played with different people each night.
They're obviously missing the snooker and the camaraderie.
I hobble around and people help me, but then again we've had other people who's had operations and had to use walking sticks and things. So yes, but you're always bending and stretching, which is reasonable exercise. If you walk around this table twice, you've done 50 yards. It's all useful, and when you bend, but it taxes your mind as well. Your mind's got to work, and there are days when your mind doesn't turn up, and there are other days when everything goes sweetly right.
We just had a real concern for their health and well-being, and we wondered how we could actually manage to offer a safer environment and give an air circulation with new and clean air, and not that just having the same old circulation happening and the fear of one of them catching COVID. So we found ourselves in an interesting position here, and that is that this club actually, or this building, has windows. So it gave an opportunity. The problem was that the windows obviously are there to bring in daylight, which is the absolute not what a snooker club wants. So what we decided that we would do is we would support this club through the We Are Undefeatable budget by purchasing the services of somebody to come along and actually tint all the windows for us. And so it meant then that we could actually put the frames and everything on vent. We could give the gentleman that little bit of additional clean air, but it also meant that by being open, the daylight would not come in and detract upon the game that they were wanting to play.
I noticed particularly during COVID, when I got a visitor, it made a difference physically, not only mentally, physically. You picked up because somebody had been. So I felt that for anybody else that was in a similar boat.
It's only a small club. There's only 3 tables, but it's used throughout the week, generally throughout evenings, and it's great to see the chaps back. The most of them will have experienced significant isolation and lockdown, and that will obviously have played a part on their health and well-being. More so, I would imagine, on their wives' health and well-being. But they're now able to return. It means as well that it's not just the game; it's the camaraderie, it's the being able to meet their mates again. But walking around the table, meeting up with each other. It's very important, and the activities, if you actually sat and broke down what they actually do to play the game, if you then broke that down and asked it as kind of yoga or tai chi or movement to music, you wouldn't get any of them. You just wouldn't. This is a cohort of gentlemen who just wouldn't pick up on something like that and see it as an opportunity.
You don't need much mobility to get around the table. At least you can lean on the table anyway. And I've often said they should put a handle on a snooker cue because that'd help you. But no, it's not a problem.
They're actually doing something that is a real physical activity. They're having to walk around the table. They're bending over, picking up balls, moving about, getting here, disciplining themselves to come back again, looking forward to being here in an evening. None of that do any of them realise. And it was why I just felt it was imperative that we'd got this opportunity in Mansfield. We could offer them a safer environment to pick up where they left off, so that we could start to help them recover, because this 18 months will have had an effect upon this particular age group. There's no doubt about that. They were all very keen to ensure that they were double jabbed before they came for each other.
I honestly believe a few struggling steps around a snooker table is worth it. It's worth it.